Today we're doing a podcast episode on time management. Normally I do a life update, but I'm going to forgo that for now because I have a special guest here today. Her name is Kim. She is married, she has kids, but she's also a time management coach for mothers. I actually met her on a business mini mind, and there was several entrepreneurs that kind of came together and took that class and that program, and I met her as a result. So she's going to share with us some top tips, and I'll ask her some questions regarding what she does, who she is, and like some tips that are going to help not just mothers but people in general on time management. So welcome to the show, Kim. Say hello if you don't mind. Just a hi.
Everybody.
And then also, I want you to, if you don't mind, just briefly introduce yourself. I know you're married. I know you have kids. I know you are a time management coach. But how many kids do you have? How long have you been married? And kind of just your backstory of how you got to where you are today as far as being a time management coach.
Sure. So I am, as Hannah said, my name is Kim Della Porta, and I am a health coach for moms. And I have been married for 10 years, and I have two sons that are 4 and 7. And before I had kids, I used to work in marketing and PR, and now I am a health coach for moms. And I kind of went through that transition because when I was in the early stages of motherhood, I really felt like I lacked support and guidance. And I decided that I wanted to be that support for other moms. So I met with a friend who was a health coach. I signed up for the program, and 4.5 years later, here I am.
Wow. Okay. So you used to work a full-time job and now you're solely doing your business?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Nice. And so you said that you didn't have the support back then, but now you kind of have the support. What do you mean by support?
Yeah, so I felt like I had a lot of questions when I was a new mom. And, when you're going through all of these changes and you want to work on your health and you want to work on um, your life and your organization and, everything that goes into being a mom and being a first-time mom. My mom didn't live close to me. And so it was kind of difficult to kind of, get into the groove with that. And now, you know, through knowing other moms and being involved in like local community and just learning things for myself as being a mom twice now, um, I feel like I have a lot more support and I'm able to provide my expertise and my support to other moms.
So do you think that like the struggle of kind of having no support, like no one to like lean on, the that really difficult time of having to figure it out on your own kind of helped you navigate it like better, and you had to really like compared to someone else that has everything provided for them or the support given to them, like mother, grandma, all the things, like because you had to do on your own, you kind of have a bigger knowledge base on how to manage your time because you had no choice. You had to manage your time very well compared to another person.
Yeah, I think that maybe I don't necessarily have a better expertise as than somebody else, but I think that I can help people get to where they want to go more quickly because I've been there, I've been where they have been or where they are now, and I know what it took to get me here. So, it's just all about helping other people and just being like a little bit ahead of where they are because, I've been where they are. And that's the thing about working with someone and working with a coach is, that accountability and just being that support to somebody.
Okay. So I have an outline. I think you know that of all the questions I want to ask, but I just kind of came to me some like I just kind of want to know out of pure curiosity, and maybe it could help people understand. Um, you're married, right? You have you said a 4 and a 7-year-old.
Yep.
And so you're running or trying to build like this business and run this business and take care of kids. Could you just walk us through like a day in the life of you and how I don't know, maybe I have this on my outline, but I'm just thinking of it now, like how you progress through your day and some of the habits you have and routines you have that make life not just like good for your husband and good for your kids, but also good for yourself, everyone involved.
Yeah,
If you
so
could
for
just like
sure.
go
So
through
my
your
older
routine,
son,
morning, afternoon.
so my older son is in second grade, so he rides the bus to school, and my younger son is in preschool, so I have to drive him to school. So our morning starts early because my kids wake up early, and so in the morning it's really all about them, and it's getting their breakfast done, getting them ready for school and getting them on their way, and then once they're dropped off, I can kind of start my day. And,
Right.
it
Okay.
used to be that I would get up early and like exercise before they got up, but now they're getting up so early that it's becoming kind of difficult for me to do that. So
Yeah.
I tend to have the most energy like right after I drop them off. So I'll get my workout in. I will get some, I'll take a shower, I'll have breakfast, I'll get some work done in the morning. And then the afternoon before I pick them up is when I like to get a lot of like the household chores done. I do make sure that I have things going throughout the day. Like in the morning, um, throwing in a load of laundry or make sure the dishes are washing. So like later I can empty them so that we can start with like a clean slate, later in the day. And then after they're home, then it's about them again, really until about bedtime. And then after bedtime, it's just kind of like chill time. And, sometimes I have work to do at night. We either have, we were having our mini mind calls or we have podcast recordings or we have, stuff like that. And then sometimes it's just kind of like wind
Yeah.
down time.
Okay. Do you prioritize any time with like date nights or time with friends or vacation?
Yes, absolutely. So I love all of
And if
that.
so,
And sorry, I'm getting over a little bit of a cold, so I keep coughing. Um,
oh, you're good. You're good.
but yeah, so when I prioritizing all of that stuff is so important. And my number one like tip for that is making sure you put it on your calendar. Because just like everything else in your life, like
Okay.
schedule it in there. You schedule in your workouts, schedule in your dates, schedule in your vacation or your time with friends so that you actually have it in your calendar and you can't like book over it, and then hold yourself accountable to that, because that's like something you need to like fill
Yeah.
your cup and recharge.
Right. I totally believe in like having a calendar and a planner or like just plugging it in like because when you do that it's kind of like automatic. You're like, "Oh, I know what I need to do." And that's you don't have to think about it.
Mhm.
But I want to play devil's advocate a little bit because this is something I've been told is that like being that organized, like time blocking those things or like scheduling out your life
Mhm.
or whatever it is a means to have control where you shouldn't try to control like people listen you're a little OCD or you are not allowing yourself to be creative or go with the flow, like just chill out, you're a little much. Like those are kind of the things when like they're like, "Oh, you plan out your life like that, you schedule this out." What are your thoughts on that? Or what do you say to something or what would you say to someone that says that?
I think that everybody has a different personalities when it comes to time management and just their life in general. And some people don't like to have everything planned, and some people do. And, I do think it's good to have some sort of plan, but also be flexible because things come up or kids get sick or you have to, do something that you didn't think you were going to be doing, which is totally fine. And you can't kind of like fault yourself for that. So to have kind of like that
Yeah.
flexibility built in. But for me, I know that
Yeah.
I thrive when I have some sort of schedule, even if it's like a loose schedule for the
Same.
day, even if I don't write it down in my planner, kind of have an idea in my head of like the things that I'm going to be doing, and that helps me just allocate my time, but it's not for everyone. So,
Yeah.
to each their own, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And like something I think I personally do in my planner that kind of like alleviates that, like being overly controlled of everything is like I like on certain days I like schedule out free time where there is legit, I'm not really planning anything in
Mm-hmm.
particular, but I'm giving myself that block of that just says it doesn't matter what you do, you can do it. And that freedom and that creativity, but then you still
Yeah.
have like those time blocks of what you need to get done.
Right.
That would be my thought process on that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
because I
I
mean,
don't
there
know.
are obviously things that you need to get done, right? So there's work that you need to do, there's
Right.
meals that you have to eat, there's just things you have to do. So not having any kind of schedule can be a little difficult, but scheduling in like I said, like scheduling in that time with your friends, scheduling in that date night with your partner, scheduling in time for vacations or trips or stuff like that. Like I maybe don't schedule like every minute of those things, but I have an idea of what they
Right.
probably are.
Right. So do you like how far out do you go to be able to be like, this is when I'm gonna have dates, this is when I'm gonna have friend time, this is when I'm gonna have like vacations. Is there any system that you have? Or is it kind of just like whatever like someone asks you or like when your partner brings up, like how do you make sure that you're intentionally prioritizing it besides just like I like planning it out?
Yeah, I would
Just
say
like putting it in your
probably
calendar, I
like
mean.
with mom life, which might be a little bit different than not having kids yet. Sometimes they
Yeah.
kind of like rule the roost, as they say. Like, you have a lot of things that you have to do like around their schedule. So I don't really schedule like my daytime unless I'm having like a particular meeting or like a client call. My stuff during the day, if I'm scheduling like a walk with a friend, like I usually only do it like a week or two in advance because then everybody has an idea of like what their schedule looks like. But if I was planning like a
Yeah.
monthly date night with my husband, I might do that and say like on Friday, this is the date we're going to get a babysitter because you have to do that further in advance. And, I might not know what we're going to do, but scheduling that. And then, I mean, for vacations, I schedule pretty far in advance because I'm a planner.
Yeah, same. Okay, so now back to my outline, which I didn't clearly follow to a T here, but
That's okay.
this next question is if you had to narrow down your most important tools for time management to three things, what would be your top three best tools?
So when I saw this question, I was trying to think of like actual like tools, like a planner or like an app. And I think that everybody is so different with how they like to see their schedule, manage their time, that I kind of have like three like concepts. They aren't necessarily tools. So my number one
Okay,
is
yeah,
priorities. So like figuring out what needs to be done and then things that you're flexible on, you know? And then the second
right.
one is having a plan or a system. So this could be something like how you're going to plan out your time. So you talked a little bit about time blocking or, doing some other sort of time management technique like that. So that's kind of like having like the way that you're going to plan your time and then the process or somewhere to keep track of it. So whether that's a paper planner, whether it's the notes app in your phone, whether it's a Google Calendar, whether it's a combination, having all of those things. So, like, knowing what you need to do and what you can be flexible on, knowing how you're going to plan it, and then somewhere to keep track would be like my three things
Okay.
that are super important.
I think that's really important and definitely like so important to like really because some people get so overwhelmed with like the idea that they have to do all of these things when there's maybe one or two things they need to do and the rest they can choose to do. And so like just
Mm-hmm.
knowing the priority level and know like how to like what to tackle first because some people will be like
Yes.
they need to do this one thing that's really important but hard as other thing so they choose to do all the other things like that are not necessarily super important because they're procrastinating and then the thing that they
Mm-hmm.
need to do is like they're scrambling, maybe they don't end up doing it, they fall behind, like all this mess. So I feel like that's super important. And of course,
Yeah.
obviously, like tracking it, people track differently. But for
Yes.
me, I
Yeah.
use both Google Calendar and my planner.
Yeah. I like to
What
write down like my to-do lists in my notes app, and just so I can like check it off. So like on a day, like if the things that I need to do. And then I like to use like the calendar, paper planner, or like the calendar on my phone to like keep track of appointments and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's good. So, awesome tips. The next question I want to ask you is, I think I kind of already asked this, which was how to prioritize time and all of that. So
Hmm.
then we'll go ahead and ask you, how do you balance incorporating conveniences to ensure you are saving adequate money and time? The reason I asked that question is because, like, so many people are like, it's like one or the other. You either have conveniences or, and like, you're just spending tons of conveniences, like a maid, Instacart, like
Hmm.
everything, like really that are, it's just convenient versus saving money. So I think, like, in my opinion, like those are two important things. You have to have some conveniences and everything, but how do you make sure that you're saving time and money?
Yeah. So time is an unrenewable resource, right? So like we think about it as like, if I can afford, just not me, but just like someone in general, like asking yourself the question, like, if I can afford to pay someone else to do this for me, should I do it? And the answer could be different for everyone, because it could depend on the things that they like to do. It could depend on how long, things take for them to do. It could depend on different things that they have access to. Like, for example, like I routinely, like I did it today, I do grocery pickup. And I kind of started that like during COVID, but I don't think I will like ever go back to routinely going to the grocery store and having to drag both of my kids through every single aisle to pick out groceries and come out with way more than I thought I was going to buy, because, you know, the impulse purchases, or like they want something, or this way, like, yes, the items cost a little bit more, yes, there is like a fee to pick it up, but they bring it right out to my car. It's so much easier to just look in my fridge and say yes, 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 pick all the things I need. So like that's something for me, I'm willing to pay a little bit more to save that time. Another example would be,
Yeah,
um we have a yard and we don't have like a lawnmower, so we pay somebody to come and do like the lawn service for us and like the snow plowing. So like some people, so we would rather like spend our time on the weekends doing stuff as a family, and spending time in our yard and working in our vegetable garden, versus spending a couple hours having to do all the mowing and stuff like that. Um Other people might pay for dry cleaning or cleaning services or meal prep services. Those are all things that people, you may or may not be able to afford to outsource. And it's all really just like a personal, not opinion, but like a personal choice of like what you feel like is most important for you. And it could change. Like maybe this week you have extra time, so you don't mind going to the grocery store. But next week, like you're really slammed, so you want
right,
to pay a little bit more to have them delivered or to pick them up.
right. So it's not so rigid, and also it's just important to like basically decide, like, person to person, like, okay, this person really hates cleaning the most. Like, out of all the to-dos, they hate cleaning the most. So then because they hate that the most, then maybe their best convenience that they should invest money into is a house cleaner.
Hmm.
Or like they hate the most, like they least that brings them the least amount of joy that they have to do, they can maybe outsource so they can save their
Hmm.
energy for what they enjoy more.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I totally agree with that. But also it's like it's dependent, I guess, on like, is the person in debt? If the person is like so much in debt and they're struggling with money, obviously they're going to not have as much conveniences. They're gonna have to
Sure, for sure.
sacrifice
And
on
I
that
mean,
in
always
order to
like
get out of it.
staying within your means and making sure you're not overextending yourself financially. I would never want somebody to do that to save time. I mean, there are ways that you can, you know, save time. You can do lots of things, like, we talk about like meal prepping. Like I know you meal prep, I meal prep. Like that's a way to save time. If you meal prep on a Sunday and do it for the week, Like, not only are you not going out to lunch every day and spending more money, you're also not having to make a lunch every single morning. And so you're saving time
Yeah.
throughout the week and you're saving money. So that's like an example of like something that you could do that doesn't
Doing
necessarily
both.
like cost you more money, but saves you time.
True. I love that. Good advice. Okay, so the next question is how do you Oh, I kind of talked about that. We're like talking about all these things in a different order. So the next question I'll ask is when I think of time management, I think of delegation, elimination, and concentration. What do those terms mean for you, and how do you incorporate them into your life? I can elaborate if you need.
Yeah. So for me, delegation kind of means like allowing other people to do something for me and like accepting help. So like whether it's having my kids help me do something, giving them a job, like helping me with like collect the laundry or something like that, or just like allowing some even like coming in and providing that help for you. That's kind of like what I feel like, which can be really hard for accepting help can be really hard for some people, but that's kind of what I think of when I think of like delegation is just like you not doing the thing is somebody else doing the thing for you, whatever it is. For elimination, I think of like, what are the things that you need to do? And what are the things you can outsource? Or what things can you get rid of completely that, you know, are like those things, all of the other things on your list when you should have been doing that first one. And you're doing all those other extra things that you probably didn't need to do.
Yeah,
Like, probably a couple of
right.
those you didn't need to do at all. And you just did them. So there's
Yeah,
probably things that you can
yeah,
eliminate.
yeah.
And then concentration. So I read this statistic when I was doing my time management trainings that like only like 2 to 3% of people can actually like effectively multitask. Have you like read that statistic?
Hmm,
And so like so many people
yeah,
like think that they're like multitasking and getting more things done and they aren't being like as efficient and effective and productive as possible. So when I think of concentration, I think of like concentrating on like one project or task at a time and like moving and doing it to your full ability and like putting everything into that and then moving on to the next thing. So that's like when I think
yeah.
of concentration, I
Like
think of like
focusing on one
focusing
thing.
on like one thing.
And how do you like so on the delegation side,
Yeah.
how do you incorporate that into your life? Like do you, because I know a lot of people, I'm sure like a lot of moms especially, but people in general have a hard time letting go of certain things. Like they feel bad to ask for help. How do you manage that? Are you able to ask for help? And if so, like how are you able to get yourself to do that?
Yeah. So for like the delegating, I would say like asking for help is one thing and then like the outsourcing. So like doing things like getting the groceries put in the car,
True.
things like that, where you're like asking for help and not really like, asking like personally for help. But I might do
Yeah.
things that, the kids might want to like help me do. So like today I was like weeding in the garden and I was like, do you want to help me weed and collect worms at the same time? So they like did something for me, but
Mhm.
also were having fun, doing things that like make them feel like they're contributing, like emptying the dishwasher because I like can't stand dishes is like one of my things that I don't like to do. Or like collecting the
Mhm.
laundry, or like if I've had like a really long day and I just really don't have the energy to do something, like asking my husband to do it so that I don't have to do it. Um, it can be
Yeah.
difficult because like he's working, he's had a long day too. But if you don't ask, then no one's gonna know that you need that support and that help in that moment.
Right. True. Yeah. It's really important. I know, like I said, a lot of people struggle with that. So the fact that you can try to, like, it's difficult, but like ask your husband so if you're really going through it for help or to find fun ways to get your kids to do it, to help
Yeah.
you with things. And then obviously the
Mhm.
biggest thing is like you are outsourcing with certain tasks like grocery pickup. Like that's super important, I feel like. So as far as like you said concentration, one thing I
Mhm.
particularly struggle with is like I feel like yes, I think there's like a multitasking that where it's like everyone tries to do at which I also do too many things at one time, and then those things are not done as effectively as they could be if one thing was done at a time.
Mhm.
But one thing I struggle with is like distractions with my phone. Like social media, like Instagram, all those things. I spend so much time on social media and it makes life and or excuse me, accomplish so much more difficult. So do you have like certain tips on how to minimize the amount of time that people go on their devices or on social media?
Yeah. So I would say, like, if you're working and you're trying to get something done, not having your phone like on your desk, like if you don't need to be using your phone for something, like put it somewhere else so that you're not like tempted to pick it up. um, and then the same thing with like if you're working on your computer, like make sure to close all your extra browsers so that you're not tempted to go and do shopping or check Facebook or do all of these extra things. So those are just like two things when you're actually working. And I think one of like the most important things is to like actually like do like an audit of like how much time you're spending on your phone, and like if you have like the screen time report enabled like in your phone, and figuring out like in my time management webinar that I did, there's a whole spot where we estimate how much time we think are spending on our phone. And then you look at your screen report and you see, for me, it was way more than what I estimated. And then um, looking at some tips for decreasing it. So, for example, like um, not having it in your bedroom at night. So, like, I know a lot of people use it for, like, their alarm, and if you're gonna do that, like, totally fine, like, put it on, like, a dresser that's on the other side of the room so that you're not, like, in bed scrolling and staying up for, like, an hour watching TikTok videos or something. Another
Right.
one is to set screen-free times of day, or, like, screen-free, like, zones in your house. And that way, it's like your bedroom
Hmm.
might be like a screen-free zone, or like when you're having dinner, it might be like your kitchen's screen-free, so if you're sitting in your kitchen and you're having like family dinner, like no one has their screens out, or there might be like a designated place, like a basket or a charging station where you can like put your devices, and maybe like from 5 to 8 at night when everyone's home together, like it's screen-free time. So kind of thinking about how you can implement things like that. I'm sure I can think of more, but those are just like some of the ones that come off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's really good. And especially I like what you mentioned, like the zones for like our phones to, or like when we go into certain places or rooms in the house to be like, this is like, it's like a warning or like a little trigger in our heads, like, oh, I'm in this space. And you now automatically know that you're not going to use your phone in that time slot or whatever it is. Like, that's pretty good. It is very hard to
Mhm.
like not go on my phone. It's always on me. I have like a little my case is a wallet thing, so it has all my like cards in them. I have like
Mhm.
a thing that goes around my neck that's like it's basically my purse. Everything is in it. So it's like to not hold it or it be on me, that's even a struggle. And I feel like a lot of people, I don't know,
Mhm.
I think I'm on another level of addiction, but I think a lot of people struggle. So it's definitely something important also to not use it at night in the bedroom. It messes with sleep. I know that.
Mhm.
And also just in general, it keeps people up longer than they should be up. And yeah, so it's important to definitely from the bed if it's gonna be in
Yeah.
there
I
at
think
all.
most
So
people
good.
underestimate how much time they use on their phones, and like how many times they pick it up in a day. And you would like, if you looked at your screen time report, you'd probably be like a little bit like in my time management webinar, like I like put my actual screen report up there, and it was like 5 hours and like 30 minutes or something of like using my phone, and I picked it up like the most was like 145 times like in one day. And I was like, that's like insane to me that like, and it might just be, another thing, is I don't know if you have like push notifications turned on for like Instagram or something like that. But I
I
turned them
do.
off because I felt like every time somebody would do something, then I would look at it. But now, I
Right.
might look at it like a couple times an hour or something like that, but it's not like every single time. So when I go in, I maybe have like 12 notifications, but I didn't pick it up 12
Hmm.
times. So doing something like
Yeah,
that,
no,
whether it's
that's a
Instagram or Facebook or email or whatever, the only notification I have now is like my messages. So if somebody texts me, I
wow.
can see that. But
I definitely should do that because yes, the moment I get a notification, I'm like, I have to look. So very, very
I
solid
know. Well, that's
advice.
what I mean.
Need
That's
to
the whole
apply that.
point. That's why they do it. They want you to be on your phone. They want you to do that. They want you to be on the app. So that's why they make things like that.
Yeah. And my problem's so big that I don't even want to look at how much time I spend because I'm like,
I know, but you have
I'm
to
like
look at it
the
to
guilt.
make it get better. Oh, the other thing that I read was if you turn the settings to your phone to black and white, it makes it less visually appealing so that maybe you won't stay on it
Oh,
for as long. So could be something to try.
interesting. I never even knew that you could do that. So that's good to know.
I don't
I
know where
will
you
have to
do it,
try
but
that.
I'm sure it's like in display or colors or something in settings.
Yeah. So next question. um, let's see. Okay, so let's say someone has a lot of responsibilities, whether that be school, work, business, or other things, and they're feeling
Mhm.
overwhelmed. They have a hard time fitting in alone time, time to have fun or enjoy hobbies, time to handle basic responsibilities like house cleaning, and are having a hard time fitting in self-care routines, like working out, eating healthy. So what are some questions you may ask this person to narrow down the root of their time management problem? Before you answer,
Mhm.
I have some friends that basically they're just like, they feel like their time is getting away from them. They're just like so overwhelmed because it's like they can be late or they're like they just feel stressed because of the different responsibilities and like they stop taking care of themselves. They lose sight of that. So yeah, so I guess what would be some questions you would ask if you're coaching this person one
Mhm.
on one to really get to why they're struggling so much?
Yeah. So to me, this person sounds like they might be an overcommitter. That's like a time management personality that you might have. Um, so it might not be the case with everybody, but the questions I would probably start by asking is like, think about the different things that you're being asked to do. And whether it's, if it's like a mom, if it's something at school, if it's something at work, if it's something in the community, why am I considering doing this, having this opportunity, doing this task? Um, will this opportunity or task like serve a purpose in my life? Like, does it get me closer to where I want to be, or does it make me happier? Does it um increase my earning potential or elevate my life in some way? Um, and
Mm-hmm.
then, if it's a yes, so is the opportunity like a hell yes? Like, is it something that you want to do, like you're jumping out of your skin to do, or is it like you feel like you have to say yes to it? And then last is, I'm just looking up here because I wrote one thing up here. Um, what's making me feel like I have to say yes to this opportunity? Like, is it feel like you really want to do it, or is it because you feel like pressure or guilt? So those are like some of the questions, because it helps people determine like if the things that they're actually doing are like needed in their life, or if it's extra things that they're doing. And
Yeah.
then are there any tasks that can be outsourced or eliminated to make time
Okay.
for the things
Yeah,
like
it sounds like
for the things that can elevate your health, for the healthy routines, for the self-care.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it sounds like basically there's like a boundary problem where they have a hard time. This person might have a hard time setting boundaries or being able to say no. Like you
Mhm.
said, that overcommit, so it makes sense. Like they will say yes to things that they don't have to. They're not technically like they don't need to do it. It's not their responsibility. It's a choice, but maybe they do it out of the wrong intentions. Like they feel
Mhm.
guilty or they um a lot of it I think is guilt. I think like whether it's
Mhm.
for a friend or family member or for whatever or like pressure of like own internal like feeling like they have to be or act a certain way and that aspect as well. So it's really good to like basically put them in a place of like first narrowing down like what's their like the is if are they struggling with boundaries and then
Mhm.
getting them to be able to come to their own terms and be able to be like, okay, this is what I have to do, and this is what I know it's gonna bring me joy versus this
Mhm.
is stuff I'm only doing for the wrong reasons. So
Right.
it's
And
very
then once
good.
you get through kind of
And
that,
like
then you can work on like working on your actual time management. Like once you figure out like the things that, that you need to do, then there might be some pockets of time where you can fit in those additional things that you said you don't have time for. But really, it's
right.
just that you're
Yeah.
filling your schedule with things that you don't need to do.
Hmm. Very true. Awesome. Okay, so let's see. I mean, I kind of already talked about this. So talked about that. Well, I guess is there anything in your schedule that like compared to maybe some other moms that you see, is there anything in your schedule in your routine that would be surprising like wow, like you fit that in your schedule? You do this in your routine. How do you even manage to do this? There's other moms of two or they're like full-time student and they're also a full-time worker, whatever. Like what is it though with your schedule that you're able to fit in that's surprising, I guess.
Surprising. I mean, I think that everybody has different priorities and different things that they do. As like a health coach, I obviously like moving my body and like taking care of myself is very important. Like I'm very happy that we have like space in our house that I'm able to exercise, and we also have a membership at the Y, so like I can bring the kids there and they will be watched while I can exercise. So that's like another like really amazing opportunity that I have that, I kind of like make the time for. Um so really just taking care of myself, because so many people say they don't have time to exercise, like you were saying, like they don't have time to eat healthy, but you do if you put in the correct routines and, make the time for the things that are going to elevate your health and elevate your life instead of kind of like just taking all of that time.
Yeah. Or people with busy schedules, they don't fit in their health. They don't fit in like you said you meal prep and you work out. So that's the one thing or those are the probably the two things that many like busy moms or busy people will drop like their health.
Mhm.
And that's good that you can fit it in and that you prioritize it and that you time block it. So,
Yeah.
very good. So is there any other strategies that you use with clients or anything that in particular that you really like is like unique to your coaching that you provide with people for people that are struggling with time management or just managing their busy schedules as moms
Yeah, so
or
the
as
top
people?
Sure. So the process that I kind of use when I work with like the clients to manage their time is it's kind of three steps. So first, it's visualizing their ideal day. So thinking about like if you could do anything in a day, what would you do? Writing it all down. I have a worksheet that goes along with that. And then at the end, what are like your five priorities from your, if you could pick five things from that day, like what are your five priorities? Then second is you estimate how you think you spend your day. So sit down, try it with as much detail as possible. Write down on a schedule how you think you spend your day. And then write down how you actually spent your day, whether it's writing it as the day goes on, like having the paper like with you for like a day. And it should be a day that's like a normal day for you, like not like your best ever day, because then it's not going to really like jive with what you like estimated. So doing that. And once they do that, I feel like they have a pretty good idea of like where they're wasting their time and like how they can kind of like fit, if they did have like a pocket of time, like how they could fit something else in there. And that's where I would take like those priorities from your ideal day and try and fit them in. You know, if healthy routines like exercise is important to you, but it's not on how you thought you spent your day and it's not on how you actually did, but you have like a block at in the afternoon, like why not fill that with that priority or something else from that sheet?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find that like people will realize that a lot of their time that they think that they don't have is actually spent like in the in betweens, like scrolling or being on social media? Is that the most common thing, or okay?
Yeah, so
What
I
are some
think
other
that
things that you see?
yeah, so I was gonna
Sorry,
say,
go
I
ahead.
think that a lot of people spend way more time on their devices than they think they do. Um, and also I think that a lot of people um maybe don't do things as efficiently as they could. So like for example, when I was going through that exercise myself, I noticed that I was kind of doing my chores like throughout the day versus a block in the morning and a block in the afternoon. So I was like starting and stopping and
Mm.
starting and stopping versus having like time that was like actually dedicated to it. So that's kind of like a change that I made because I found that, well, if I was doing 15 minutes here and 15 minutes here, and then I was having to stop doing work or doing whatever it was. So I try and do bigger blocks. So like a bigger block of work
Hmm.
in the morning, a bigger block of household chores or other to-dos, errands and stuff like that, like in the afternoon, where it kind of like pairs well with like I'm already going to be in the car because I have to go get my son for preschool. So like why not do everything during that time versus in the middle of the day? But yes,
Right.
screens
Yeah,
are a
that makes
big
sense.
time waster for many people.
Yeah, that makes sense though. Like the two things you said were like the social media or the phone, where like just like they find when they have that downtime or free time, they're doing that as to their other obligations. But also the inefficiencies, like sometimes, like you said, like and it takes a lot of brain power and wasted time when you start and stop something like a task,
Yes.
and you're like doing things like that don't pair well. Like if you're
Mhm.
going from like I don't know, cleaning the house to then you have to go to the grocery store and then you come back and then you have to you know, cook or whatever. Like I don't know, like if you could clean the house and get the cooking started and then go, it's like all in the same place as opposed to like it's like almost like saying like, oh, there's A, B, and C destinations. I'll go and do A, then C,
Yeah.
then B. Like I don't know. There's just a big difference when you kind of like find a way that's like seamless to complete the task.
Mhm.
That makes sense. That's very very valid. I like that you mentioned that. Okay, so is there anything else that you would like to add that would maybe help other people listening? Maybe if they're young adults, they're busy, they just have a lot on their plate, or if they're moms, whatever you have, is there anything you would like to share or any advice you'd like to give? If not, totally fine.
Yeah. So I think that it's really important to know where you're starting from. So I think that's like why doing like some sort of audit of your time is so important. Like whether you're looking just at your screen time or whether you're doing like the whole process of envisioning your ideal day, doing your estimate, doing your actual day, because you're not going to be able to make any improvements if you don't know where you're starting. So that's like why that whole
Yeah.
process is so important. So that's just like my biggest thing is just like being honest with yourself and like looking at the data from your phone or being honest with like how you're actually spending your day. Like you're the only one who has to like look at these documents. But in the end is
Right.
if you are honest with yourself, it's going to just work out so much better for
Mhm.
you because
Right.
you'll be so much further from, you're committed to making the changes because you know where you started
Right.
and you
Yeah.
know the things you need to do to change.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're not sure where to start, as you've heard from her, just do an audit. Go ahead and look at where you're currently at, and there's a lot going on. The first step is to just look what you're currently doing and be honest about it, and then go from there. Love that advice. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, so where can people find you if they want to connect or hire you for coaching or your other services for time management or whatnot?
Sure. So, the easiest way to find me is on Instagram. My name is Kim Della Porta, and that is my Instagram handle. And my website is kimdellaporta.com. You can find out more about my programs and access my free time management training. It's called Time Management for Mamas, but the principles inside of it extend far past moms. They are really work for everybody. So that's kind of when I was talking about my 3-step process. We go through that in the time management training, and it's completely free. And you can sign up for it on my website.
Nice. And do virtual and in person for your courses, or is it
Yes, I
only in
do. So
person, or
I'm
how?
located, yeah. So I'm located in Rochester, New York. So if you're local to Rochester, I do in-person consultations, and I also work virtually via Zoom or FaceTime, so I can work with people from anywhere.
Sweet. I love it. Thank you again for being on the show and interviewing with me. I appreciate it. And thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and share it on your social media. Tag me, tag Kim Della Porta, and let us know that you learned something or you had a great day. I